live, you are live.
Good morning everyone, good morning and welcome to the somewhat brighter sunrise safari than I'm used to. I was just looking into the top of this termite mound, for therein used to live a family or sounder of warthogs, I think of about 5 of them. It was a sow and or 2 sows and 3 little ones that used to live in that hole. There's no fresh evidence of them, so I am assuming that they have moved on or been eaten by something. Neither of which is particularly convenient for us. You are most welcome on this morning safari. You can see that the sun has yet to peep up over the eastern horizon. We are facing due east now, and it's quite misty, but it's not too cold, about 12 degrees Celsius, which, if I'm not mistaken, puts us at roughly 65 degrees Fahrenheit. I should remember that, as I've been told it twice today, but I've forgotten. During the course of the night, Chris Rogue, thank you. You pointed out, and Joanne, you pointed out that there was a leopard calling from just south of the Djuma Dam Cam. Brent is following up in that area, so thank you very much for that. For those of you who don't know, my name is James, and on camera today is Viam. Hello, Viam. You can see Viam has got some very beautiful blue gloves on, because it's quite chilly if you're driving around here on an open Land Rover. On the other vehicle, as I mentioned, the inimitable Brent Leo Smith being filmed by the dreadlocked Gendre, and a new addition to the camera team, Zander, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term hipster. Zander is basically a hipster. He has a very, very impressive beard. In the final control today, Kirsten McLennan-Smith back on the vocals and tapping away at the keys. We have got, who was it? Was it Rebecca? Or was it Jerry? It's Jerry, I think. I think I heard her up this. Oh, it's Chelsea Byrne. Chelsea Byrne. So, please talk to us. We are completely live. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV. You can ask us anything about what we're seeing. Ask us about the animals that you might see if you happen to be a new viewer. Or, if you're wanting to travel to Africa, well, you're more than welcome to ask us about that too. Because we'd love to have you here. There we go. It is only through tourism, or it's largely through tourism, that many of Africa's great conservation areas will be maintained as conservation areas. So if you're thinking about coming out here and you are worried about some of the things you've heard about disease and war and famine and all the dreadful things you hear about Africa, most of which are utter nonsense, then do ask us some questions. It's a perfectly safe, brilliant place to come on holiday. My plan this morning is to head east. Well, I mean, don't have much choice when you're on a road that only heads east or west. I'm going to go towards where the Nkuhuma Pride and their 5 cubs had that buffalo kill with the 4 Birmingham boys yesterday evening. We'll see if we can't find them. Good idea? Okay. Off we go. Liam, you have not seen the lions since you've been back? No. Viam has not seen any cats since he's been back. He has only done, of course, one drive, as have I. And it's amazing how much brighter it is than it was when we left. Of course, when we left 2 weeks ago, in Viam's case 19 days ago, it was still dark as we, well, it was dark as we drove out. It was light enough to start the show without lights, but now you can see it really has changed. It's amazing how it happens. Let's head across to Brent, find out what he's going to do this morning. I'm going to hie my way into the rising sun to find the lions.
Visit African Dawn. I have Genre on camera, and for the first time we have a real live hipster on Safari Live. So everyone meet Zander, the latest member of the team, and hipster beard, hipster beanie. We never see. Oh, I need my binoculars. There we go. We always make new here after the morning, because I'm again checking around the edge of the Mwati River. Leopard.
This is turning into something of a pattern yesterday. Wendy was very recalcitrant yesterday afternoon. Anyway, I hope she will improve. Brent is in a fairly difficult signal area looking for Karula, so with any luck he'll find her and some signal at the same time. Now, you may be able to see the pinkening sky, and I always quite like this time of the year because, well, it's now the 1st of August, of course, Women's Month as far as I'm aware, certainly here in South Africa. We have 2 public holidays this month. One on Wednesday, we have a very large local government election. Don't worry, we will still take our safari. And then also the 9th of August, of course, is Women's Day in South Africa, a massively important day in South Africa. I'm trying to remember why I was telling you that. Oh yes, I now remember. Because it's August, which means that we're heading sort of towards the springtime, I love tracking the sun as it moves slowly towards the sort of southeast. So if we are facing due east, that's a lovely noise, Viam, from this engine. Not the engine, the brakes. That's due east there, right? You can see the pinkening sky to the left. That's where the sun's coming up, so that's just slightly north of east. By the time the sun actually does come up in the middle of summer, that will be on the 22nd of December, it will be way to the right-hand side of your picture. Those are impala, I think you can just see scuttling about on the road in the far distance. And it's so wonderful watching the sun track slowly to the south as we come towards the expectation of spring. I do hope that we're going to have a bit more rain this summer, otherwise it's going to be a bit painful. I've really enjoyed having some winter cool this year. But as we all know, I think every single human being I've ever known finds the prospect of the new life of spring just particularly exciting. Not so Viam. Viam is overwhelmed with excitement, as you can hear from his extremely exuberant voice.
I wasn't really listening.
He says he wasn't really listening. I think he does switch off a bit when I speak, which is distressing, of course. I feel he could learn so much from me. The other little character I'd really quite like to see is Sindile, but I'm not sure where he is at the moment. Right, Brent is going to try again. Let's head back across to him and get a plan from him.
Well, it looks like the gremlins are out in force in Wendy, and don't worry, Viam and Connor will take out their gremlin zappers after the sunrise safari and hopefully zap the gremlins away. So, just in case you didn't hear, we're checking now along the edge of the Mawati River system, looking for Queen Karula, the dominant female leopard on Djuma, and Herbie's somewhere in the bush, on foot, seeing who he can find her. But so far, not a track. And remember, we're on a live African safari, so you are able to ask us live what we're seeing live. Just reiterate the live fact, and you can do that by popping an email to us, questions@WildEarthTV, or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So I was about to, that's what I was doing when the gremlin struck. I was about to thank Chris Rogue and others who said they heard leopard soaring on the Djuma cam, as well as possibly the sounds of leopards mating. So I'm going to slowly check. I've come from the south and I'm checking back to around the Djuma cam. Look, we have found another creature on foot. It is our first animal of the sunrise safari, and it is a very important animal. It's Herbie. So we were wondering where Herbie was walking, now we know. Morning, Herb.
Morning, good.
Any luck?
No luck yet?
No luck yet. Okay, I'm going to keep going Twin Dams towards Wetela.
Okay.
Which, did you come down?
Yeah.
Okay.
No sign.
No sign.
Information go over to the other side and see if we've got any trends.
Perfect. Okay, so there we go. What Herbie says, he's going to head down to the Shkova, which is the Mawati, which is the Shangaan word for a little drainage system or or dry creek. You're going to see if you can find any sign of Karula and those cubs. We're going to go keep checking along the edge to make sure they don't pop out to the side. Cheers, Herb. Good luck.
Joy.
Oh, look at that. Popping up the eastern horizon is the burning orb we call the sun. Look at that, isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I really enjoy these winter's mornings. Bit of mist, some great sunrises and sunsets at the moment. You can hear the dawn chorus, all the birds starting to wake up. Okay, let's keep moving now. So a very big Safari Live welcome to Mr. Fire Sky. There's a name I don't recognize. So welcome on the live African Safari. Mr. Fire Sky is wondering, do we have tigers in Africa? We do not have any naturally occurring tigers in Africa, and they are from India through the east all the way to Russia. We unfortunately don't, so we've got other big cats. We have lions, leopards and cheetahs are our big cats, so no tigers for us. And one thing I do hope to do one day in my life is to go track a tiger on foot in India. Wouldn't that be exciting? Okay. So when we found Karula and the cubs on foot, we followed her tracks from here down into the riverbed, and we were lucky enough to spot her in a tree with an impala killed. Now, wouldn't that be nice if we can replicate that today? Always check carefully around these little river crossings. It's a good spot to keep cubs, lots of timburiti thickets, lots of trees for them to hide in. Okay, well, let's jump back on board and see what James is up to.
Everyone, we're just trying to go into the lion sighting, but I seem to have maybe missed the turn off. Hang on one second. I wasn't concentrating. Here we go. Phew. I wasn't concentrating particularly hard as we came across here. We had a very nice sighting of the Buffelshoek Dam and the sunrise. Now, just look at this tree up ahead here. This is unbelievable. Look at that. Just try and count all those vultures there. Gee whiskers. That is many. Many vultures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I get 22 vultures there. How many you got, Vim? I think are white-backed. And they all came in late in the evening yesterday, and they'll be patiently waiting for the lions to leave. Okay, let's go and have a look, see if the lions are here, and hopefully the little cubs playing as the dawn takes hold on the 1st of August, the year 2016. Just watch out there, everybody. That's VM will move the knob thorn so it doesn't hit you in the face. Thank you, VM. I can see one lion feeding on the carcass. Thank you, Dory, in South Carolina. You say you also counted 22 harbingers of death hanging on that tree there. It really is quite impressive. And I tell you, when the sun comes out onto that tree, it's going to be even more impressive. And cubs, little baby lions. And vultures and lionesses and all manner of great joy. I'm going to go around the side here because I think that's going to give us a better view of everyone. And here come two more lions. Now, let's just park up on the little hill here, and then we'll get a nice stuff. How's that, Vimpy? Will that work for you? You quite like these cats, don't you, Vim? Right, that is the scene that we are looking at. First of all, let's go from the ugliest to the prettiest. The buffalo is dead. You can see that very clearly, no longer with us, and has been skinned very neatly, and they're now onto the rib cage. Now, it's those bits and pieces in between the ribs that the vultures are going to be largely eating. Then, now these two are still growling at each other over there. I'm sure they're mating, or thinking about mating, but there's still that growling that they were doing yesterday. I'm sure they fed during the night. Look at them there in the sun. Isn't that beautiful? That's stunning. Hello, Sandy. While we watch what seems to be a courtship display going on there, you say, if any of these cubs are male, which is highly likely given that there are 5 of them and 3 others, will they stay with the Birmingham boys when they grow up, or will they go off? No, Sandy, they'll have to leave. They will definitely be excluded from the territory by the Birmingham boys when they're about 2.5 to 3 years old. I said there were 5 cubs here, but I only see 3 of them now, and I wonder if the other mother hasn't taken the other 2 away. I don't know where she would have gone. She might just be up on the bank. We'll keep an eye out around here. Look at them now playing. This is just the best now, of course. Isn't that fantastic? Just listen to all the noises. This is so cool. Hi guys. Now look at that, always look up as the vultures fly over. Now we were asked very astutely yesterday why it is that hyena cubs will approach a vehicle and lion cubs and leopard cubs won't. And when I was originally asked why leopard cubs wouldn't, I said because they're not nearly as confident as hyena cubs. But the lions don't approach the vehicle in the same way either, and I haven't come up with any reason as to why that should be the case. And then the other thing, just to keep you posted on yesterday, we were asked was about the vertical slit pupils versus round pupils in cats. And Judy H very kindly sent me a wonderful article that I read this morning about the different pupil shapes in cats and other animals. But it didn't really, it's definitely got to do with their feeding strategy. I'm just trying to figure out the difference between the round pupils and the slit pupils of different sized cats. Isn't that amazing to watch? And you can hear their little voices already quite big. Listen to that. Shamsun, a nice one from you about whether or not lion cubs phlegm and grimace. Don't think I've seen lion cubs phlegm and grimacing, Shamsun. I mean, I suppose they would. The phlegm and grimace, for those of you who don't know, everybody, is that grimace that they make, that many animals make. From horses to, I imagine, some dogs do it, just not as obviously. But the cats especially, when they lift their top lips and lift the soft palate in order to expose a tract that leads to an organ called the organ of Jacobson, and that helps them to interpret olfactory signals, so to interpret pheromones and hormones that they essentially will be used. Well, one of the things it's used for is when a male is trying to check if a female is ready to mate or not. But that's not the only thing that they use them for. So Shamsun, young cubs like this, I imagine, will be using the organ of Jacobson in order to interpret various smells and other olfactory signals. And I'm pretty sure that they would use the organ of Jacobson for that, and so they would phlegm and grimace. Now there's this big lion enjoying his meal. Buffalo, of course, did not have a very good Saturday evening. And Anna-Marie, you worried about one of the cub's legs? Apparently it was limping. I have to confess to you, I didn't notice it. Did you, Viam?
Yes.
Which one was it?
It was the walk.
The one that walked down here? No.
It was the one that came closest to the kill.
Anna-Marie, I don't know. Apparently one of them took a bit of a swat, I think, at the kill 2 days ago, and it wasn't looking very good, so I'm going to assume it's that one. I assume it's probably an injury from being hit by one of the adults when it got too close to the kill while they were eating. I don't know that for sure, but I think that's probably what's happened. Is it disastrous? Is it going to be detrimental to its health? I don't know. I don't think so. I think you'll find that it will probably recover. But that said, I have seen prides leave cubs behind when they are injured and they're unable to keep up. So let's just hope that it heals sufficiently while they're sitting here eating this buffalo, that it can keep up with them when they decide to move on. And Roger, you were asking if cubs that age overcome injuries like that. Yes, most of the time they do, Roger. And I mean, I think the big thing to remember, or to consider, Roger, is that when you think about how easily babies overcome injuries compared with adults, I think it would be very similar for the lions, and indeed for any other kind of predator. On a scale of 1 to 10, how pleasant would you rate the smell around here?
What is worse? 10.
10 is good. 10 is sort of roses, if you like.
Not that bad, so I'll give it a 6.
You give it a 6. I think it's pretty bad. Vivian? Stop doing that. So, the question is, where's the other lioness gone now with her 2 cubs? Ginny, very good one from you about whether or not the cubs are eating meat yet. And I think you'll find that they're trying to eat meat. I suspect that's why one of them got thumped. When this, sometime during the course of Saturday evening. So they will be trying to eat meat, but they're still suckling. You can see them suckling now, and they will suckle until they're about, if I'm not mistaken, 6 months old. Because lions, I always remember 666, 6 days until they open their eyes, 6 weeks until they're introduced to the pride, 6 months until they're weaned completely. It's got nothing to do with the mark of the devil or anything like that. I just remember that. Found that an easy way of remembering. Just scanning the top bank there for the other lioness, but I don't see her there. Robin, in Wisconsin, you're wondering about the sexes of the cubs and if it's possible to tell their sexes at this stage. Robin, it probably is, if we got a good enough look at behind their tails. Yes, it's quite possible we'd be able to tell the sexes, but it would have to be a pretty good look. They're not very obviously, it's not obvious. You can see the testicles on young males in the same way that you can see them on young dogs, I guess, but it's not very obvious. So you do, a little flick of the tail you're not going to see. But we could tell, for example, with Karula's 2 cubs, we could tell one male, one female. Well, I mean, the first time we saw them. Just about, not quite, just about. And that's just because we got a good look behind the tail. This is so sweet. Well, he's not so sweet. It's difficult to believe that fellow we're looking at now could ever have been the same as the little thing that's suckling now from his mum. I don't know that that's a male, I'm just guessing. Males and females look exactly the same at that age. Now Joel, a very nice question from you. You say, how come the Birmingham boys don't kill the cubs? Well, Joel, no, your guess is, do they all think that they're the fathers? No, I don't think so. Maybe genetically they do. But what it is that even though in a coalition like this, all the males are in fact related, and that means that even though one of them, or most of them, are not fathers just yet, of these particular ones, they might be of the Styx pride or indeed of the other litters within this pride, but there's only probably one father for this litter. This litter still carries the genetic legacy of all members of the coalition because they are related. And so that's a lot of Egyptian geese you can hear screaming, everyone. So although they're not directly related, they're not directly the father, so let's say this fellow is not the father here, he's definitely at least an uncle, and so these cubs still carry his genetic legacy, even if it's quite a small one. So that's why they don't kill them. Whether that's I don't believe it's a conscious thing. I think it's just part of the instincts of how they operate in a pride like this. And I think, it's not obvious in this coalition of 4 whether there's any kind of dominance hierarchy. You'll read in some of the books that there isn't a dominance hierarchy. Certainly amongst Hairy Belly Matimba and Ginger Matimba, the 2 males that were forced to skedaddle from this area by the Birmingham boys, it seemed fairly obvious that Hairy Belly was slightly larger and probably more dominant because he seemed to have more testosterone in him. He had a blacker mane. If those two males, and they are related, it's highly likely that Ginger had far fewer cubs than Hairy Belly did, but he still would have protected those cubs. Alright, let's go across to Brent and get an update from him. I am not going anywhere.
So we decided to come up to the high ground to see if there's less gremlins living at altitude. So we are now on the northern edge of our traverse area, and I'm just making sure that there are no leopard tracks up here. Now, we did have those young male leopard tracks around the gate yesterday, and I think they could be young Sandile. Now we're going to slowly meander because without having a set territory, you could easily pop back for a visit to Djuma. So we're going to just zigzag through this area. So we've come up Gallagher shortcuts, we'll do Aubrey's Road, then we'll do Sandy Patch, and then round to the gate, hoping to find any sign of a leopard. Hi Sandy. Sandy says she used to see Tingana on the live safaris. Now we see Mvula. Has Mvula taken over Tingana's territory? The other way around, I'm afraid, Sandy. So Mvula has lost his territory to Tingana. Mvula is now what we would call not a dispersed male. He's already dispersed as a youngster. He's now a nomadic male. So because Tingana seems to have been having some argument with a leopard down in the south. He's been spending more time on that boundary, and Mvula's taking advantage of that. But he's staying in a very, very small, finite area here in the north. So more in Buffelshoek, Manuleti. So he's actually stuck between Tingana and Djuma. And Djuma has given him a good hiding recently. So he'll try avoid all those other dominant male leopards. That's Mvula, just to make sure he doesn't get too badly injured. But if the opportunity to mate arises, and the opportunity to sow his genetic, or extend his genetic line further, he'll definitely take that opportunity, and we saw that happen with the Shaluva 2005 female. Okay. So we're going to keep checking for tracks. Hopefully we're going to find some shortly, or Herbie's going to have some success in the Mawati. While we do that, we will not keep you away from Commander Bond and the cubs.
Right, well, we're back, everybody, and just look at the lioness there. Possibly the consort of the Birmingham boy just behind the bushes, and she's enjoying the view of the sun. The rays haven't quite touched her yet because she's still in the shade. But just listen to the sounds also all around us, apart from the crunching of bone and sinew. Just listen to the sounds. I'm going to be quiet for a little while. It's a very loud dawn chorus. You can hear the long-billed crombecs going. Plenty of white-browed scrub robins, doves, Cape turtle doves, or ringneck doves calling all the way down the valley. And vultures, you can just hear their wings beating, flying through the air as they sort of change trees, squabble with each other, and wait patiently in the trees. And yesterday we were treated to the absolutely disgusting sight of some hooded vultures eating lion dung, which was offensive to say the least. But those big vultures that we saw earlier today, the whiteback, they're waiting for meat. Look at this. This is quite nice to see. interesting that she's stayed away. She stayed away from the kill while he was eating, and now he's marking his territory slightly. I say slightly because, well, he's kind of at a kill site. Hello James in Springs, very good to hear from you, close to Johannesburg. I'm sure it's a lot colder in Springs than it is here. Right now it was about 2.5 degrees when I drove through there yesterday, which was very cold. James, you want to know how long these lions are going to stay with the kill? Until it's finished, James, and I would put that probably at around about the end of today. There's not a huge amount of meat left on this carcass now, so I think by the end of today they'll be done here. And they'll probably lie here until this evening regardless, because, well, they're full and they've got nowhere better to be right now. They might move to the dam to have some water, and then I think by either late this afternoon or tomorrow morning the vultures will descend here and finish off what's left of this buffalo. No hyena here. I'm not surprised about that, because there are 4 male lions in and around this area, and hyenas are going to think, well, more than twice before they come to take on a coalition of lions like this. And Kathy, you say, are the birds so noisy because of the lions? No, not at all. They're not actually that many calling around where we're sitting. Many of them are quite a long way from here, but because we're sitting down in a depression and the air is still quite thick with the evening, you'll find that the sound echoes up through the valley. I also think that the rain that we had, the sort of 20 millimeters of rain or so that we had, has made a big difference to the amount of bird activity that there is. Certainly they seem to be a lot louder than they were when I left. Just looking behind there, Vimpy, those lions are moving. He's definitely testing whether she's prepared to mate or not. They've been doing this for at least, well, I mean, certainly all night. Now, just watch. If you want to know what a phlegm and grimace is, you may well get a view of it now. There we go. He's now, of course, he's doing it, but he's got his back to us, so you can't really see. So he's sniffing her urine, and he's testing to see whether she's ready to mate or not. And clearly she's either just about to go into estrus or she is in estrus, and this kind of courtship display is the precursor to some fairly aggressive mating that will take place. You can hear a woodland kingfisher going. Pity for you, pity for you. Perhaps he's talking to the lion, because the lion is clearly having his advances not requited at the moment. Pity for you, pity for you. What a stunning way to spend a Monday morning. It's tough out here on Monday mornings, isn't it, Viam?
Yep.
Makes you wish you were in the traffic, doesn't it? On your way to some legal firm, perhaps, to read some contracts between 2 companies. Wouldn't you rather be doing that now?
I'd rather be a broker.
Or a broker, yeah, yeah. Then you would have gotten to work a lot earlier.
We'll do it from the PC.
Or from your PC, yes. Really tough that we have to be here instead. Hello, Arathusa Fox. I don't think I've heard from you for a little while. Lovely to hear from you again. You say, why do the lions leave the rib cage intact? Why don't they tear it apart? It's not so much a conscious decision. I think it's because the sinew and musculature and the cartilage in between those ribs holds the ribs together. And so you can see maybe you can see there, the bottom of the rib cage has been eaten away. It has been chewed away there. And I think it's just a question of what's easier. So Arathusa Fox, I think it's easier for them to get into the belly there without trying to pull apart those very strong sinews on the rib cage. And so they just kind of leave it there. It's easy, they pull everything out the middle, go and they eat the flesh off the legs. And the rib cage is normally the last thing to be taken apart because it doesn't have that much meat on it, and it's obviously held together by that sinew. The sun is just now starting to... Oh, I can hear some hyenas calling. There are hyenas calling, not quite a long way from here. Vultures all over the place, everyone. They're flying from tree to tree. They're always getting a little impatient. And one or two hooded vultures have landed on the ground to clear off the meat. Quite possibly take the skin off your skull. So they do have very coarse tongues, and it certainly is used to some extent to clear away the area that they want to eat. Stomach contents, that was in the buffalo. They kind of squeeze the intestines through the teeth, like you might squeeze toothpaste out of a toothbrush, and they squeeze the good eating. I always love watching the little cubs with their males, whether it's uncles or father. No one really knows, because we have this impression that, males have a dreadful relationship with young lions, and, well, I mean, if they're strangers, they absolutely do. But it's always so nice to see them approaching each other. Here come the consorting pair. Now, we have moved slightly. They're over there. Let me just get out of the way. And he's sort of shielding her from moving too far away from him. They're too tough. That's very artistic for him. So, first of all, big sorry that we went down there. Not sure what happened. Our stream disappeared. A piece of space debris or something like that hit a satellite. But our favourite Russian, Alex Wozniacki, has sorted that out for us. Right, let's go back to this little one. Now the cub is either thinking about playing with the male or approaching the kill. Look at that, isn't that wonderful? That is too brilliant for words. That is just amazing. Look at the male watching now. That is just fantastic. Ooh, and you can hear the crunching, and that's what that little one is thinking about. Thinking about a delicious meal. Here we go. I'm going to approach the kill now. Gee whiz, look at this. Look, this is how they get thumped, you see? You saw the reaction there from the lioness. Listen to her growling. Let's just watch what happens here. See if the little thing has the courage to go and have a bite, or even if it knows what to do. Here comes another one. Second one coming up now. Also going to say hello to Dad. Look at that. Look. And now coming down to have something to eat. See, they're very reticent to come towards the kill. They're very kind of nervous of it. Just hold on a second, I'm just going to talk to Aubrey. Go ahead, Aubs. Yeah, affirmative. They're all, yeah, most of them here. 2 lionesses, 3 lionesses, 2 males, 3 youngsters. Copy that. Look, they're watching the vultures now. This is just too fantastic. This is really pretty good going for my second drive back to have this kind of a sighting. And they are very sweet, as many of you are saying. They're such sweet little things. They are, especially with Dad in the background. I'm going to say Dad, most likely Uncle. 75% chance it's Uncle. Oh, there, now there's one eating. Have a look there. Look. Justin, you're wondering about the cub's claws and whether they'll be sharper or less sharp than an adult's claws. Justin, I think you'll find they'll be probably slightly sharper because they're smaller. They're like little needles. And I think you'll find that they'll be slightly sharper even than the adult's claws. The adult's claws are not blunt, but they're not, I mean, they are sharp, I think, though, but given their size, because they're so much bigger, I think you'll find that they're probably not quite as sharp as these little ones. Now, I know many of you were worried yesterday about that cub that had a limp, and certainly that you saw it this morning. There's one of them who's remained very much asleep, just behind there. And maybe there is a bit of an injury there. Here come the other 2 now, the consorting pair. Gosh, you don't even know where to look here. We might also do a VR here. VM, do you want to fire it up? I'll explain. Oh, hang on. We are quite close. Amber eyes in front of us. Bit of growling going on. Cubs now getting a little bit anxious because there's been some growling from the adults. So they're moving away.
We are rolling.
The cubs now moving away from the kill. Adults have all come in now. That big male in front there has been trying to mate with a lioness who's just sitting in front of you. To the left, you can see a lioness feeding, and in front there, that's Amber Eyes. We know her very well, and she's the one seemingly coming into estrus, and the big male there who's growling away there, trying to keep him away from the little cub who's just lifted its head. He's the one who's been trying to mate with Amber Eyes. Now you can hear the little cubs calling. Now we don't know who the father is. Which of these two males could be one of the other two as well. And a coalition of 4. This is just spectacular. Listen to the growls. It's difficult to tell who the growls are coming from. I think it's the lioness behind there, with the 3 cubs. But it's an absolutely terrifying sound. It's a deep, throaty growl. No, that's coming from the male. The cubs are now growling at each other, trying to suckle and play. What an unbelievable sighting. And to the far front left there, a male fast asleep. This is incredible. 3 females, 2 big males, 3 youngsters, and somewhere around here another female with 2 more youngsters who are slightly smaller than these ones, and also the other 2 members of this coalition of 4 male lions somewhere around. But this fellow right in front of us is not going anywhere because his consort, the amber-eyed lioness, is coming into estrus. She's one of 2 lionesses in this pride of 5 that doesn't have cubs yet. And if this male has anything to do with it, that situation will change fairly soon, probably within the next 100 days. It's a real honour and privilege to spend time with animals like this. Here comes, she's going down to have something to eat now. And the male watching her carefully. Watch him, see his eyes just eyeing her up the whole time. Two of them now feeding just to the left. Right, I'm going to move back a bit just to give them some space. What an incredible sighting this has been. I was just trying to do my finishing off there, Ben. Thanks for that. I'm just going to move back. We're obviously not going anywhere, everyone, but Aubrey's coming into the sighting, so I just want to move back so that he can have a bit of space. And while we do that, let's head back to Brent and get an update from him.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have much to say. So what we've done is we've done the whole of Triple M. which is the boundary between Arathusa and Djuma, looking for tracks. We're now doing Gowrie Main and doing the same thing, just trying to make sure crew doesn't cross out. I have heard there were Tingana tracks coming north, so having a look for those as well. But the leopards seem to be very, very scarce at the moment. It is still a beautiful morning to be traversing through the African bush. And so far, we haven't even really seen too many impala this morning. But that's how it goes sometimes in the bush. And remember, we are live, we can't plan it. Hi, Justin. Justin's wondering what Sindile's names are on the other reserve. As far as I know, I think it was decided that he shall just be Sindile from now on, but I think his old name on some of the other reserves was Madiba. But Sindile it is. And Sindile I shall keep using, otherwise I shall confuse myself. Karula and those cubs seem to have flown magically. So we're just checking very carefully to make sure she hasn't ducked down to the south. And then, so about over there is where Tingana's tracks were heading north. So we're going to go check all the way down there. Hopefully he's decided to come visit us in Djuma. We haven't seen him in quite some time on Djuma. Jamie's found him on Arathusa a few times. But so far, we are just searching, but that is half the fun, being out in the bush, seeing what we can find, and you never know what you're going to find. And I'm hoping we're going to find something spectacular, whether it be fauna or flora, and maybe we'll find the first flower on the baboon's tail after the rain. I have been looking for other little wildflowers popping up, but unfortunately, nothing just yet. It might not have been enough rain to trigger those wildflowers. There's a good spot to check for tracks. Well, hi Honey Bear. Honey Bear says, how long are our seasons? In the US it's an average of 3 months, but it appears that ours are much shorter. Well, I would say ours are a bit longer. So we don't have the traditional 4 seasons that you have in the northern hemisphere. We pretty much have 2 seasons. We have cold and dry and hot and wet. So we have a dry season and a rainy season, and the rainy season is summer and the dry season is winter. So we don't have that very distinct sort of autumn and spring. And also, it's never the same. Every year it's different. There's a slight bit of movement on that. I mean, this year we're experiencing a drought, so that's changed everything completely. And for the last 10 years we've been having very wet seasons. So they're not as obviously distinct between the seasons out here. Searching for leopards, I think I should get your brains going this morning. Let's see if we can come up with a quiz. Genre, what do you think? Mammals, trees, birds? Who dung it? Oh, I need to find some dung if we're going to who dung it. And we can't do the easy dung. Everyday dung. We need some special dung. So we'll keep looking for that, but while we look for some who dung it material, I was thinking we should this is a good one because it's actually quite a tricky one. Which is the largest in terms of numbers mammal migration in Africa? In which, in terms of numbers, is the largest mammal migration in Africa? If you know the answer to that one, pop an email to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live, which in terms of numbers is the largest mammal migration in Africa. So I'm going very slowly, no rushing about this morning. Hi Yuki. Yuki would like to know, are there any fennec foxes around our area? Unfortunately not, Yuki. Fennec is endemic to North Africa, so more than 7,000 kilometers away from us. We don't have any fox species. We do have a few jackal species. I'm just trying to find, I think that one's going to be the most clear. Jandre? Am I the correct distance away? Okay, I'm just going to jump out here to show you a track, but I've got to take out my hot water bottle. I don't like the cold very much. Okay. So this is actually a really cool track, and it's a very big one. Now you can see 3 very distinct toes. It's a bit more difficult to see the back foot here, but this is an aardvark track, and this is actually quite a fresh aardvark track. I would say probably just before dawn. Now my camera trap's up, and I'm really hoping we catch an aardvark on my camera trap. I think I'm going to go change the card today so that we can have a look. So there's aardvark, very distinct. They've got those massive claws for digging, and this is a particularly big aardvark. I'd say it's a very big male, and they can actually weigh up to about 60 kilograms, which is about 130, 140 pounds. So quite a bit bigger than Karula. But it is still one of the elusive species that we have not yet put on live drive. So fingers crossed that this dry season they might be out a little bit later or a little bit earlier. That'll give us the chance to see one. Taxon saw one 2 nights ago, but quite late at about 7:30 on his way home. So fingers crossed that we are going to get the mysterious aardvark on Safari Live during this drought. And while we continue our search for tracks in interesting things and some interesting dung for who dung it, let's go back to James and there's incredible little lion cubs.
We're all moving towards this one male now, the consort of Amber Eyes, who's now eating. And still that one little lion at the back there has not moved. Doesn't appear to be any great distress, but isn't moving around much. The other 2 moving around quite a lot. Here we go. It's just so wonderful to spend time with cubs like this. You forget how privileged it is and how special it is when we don't see them all the time. But again, the one behind, just not that interested in the play. They're possibly still feeling a bit injured. And I don't think these chaps are too far away from leaving this kill. The one male has gone off. I don't know, I mean, he could easily just be going to Buffelshoek Dam for a drink and then come back again. But what a scene that is. Isn't that an unbelievable scene? Oh, here we go. Males with the youngsters. Nicole, you're in Texas and you're wondering about how soon it will be before the male or the female with the older cubs mates again. She will only mate again, Nicole, when these youngsters are ready to leave, basically. So probably in about 2 years, 2.5 years, the males will start to get chased out and the females will become sexually active and they'll start having their own cubs, and then the mothers at the same time kind of come into estrus again. So I think that's what you'll find. It's at least sort of 2.5 years before she will become ready to mate again. Now, I thought we were going to have to leave, but it seems that Aubrey is leaving, which means that we can stay. So I think we'll just do that. I haven't driven very far today, but you know, on a day like this, what's the point?
Fuel strike anyway.
And there's a fuel strike, exactly. Joshua, a good question is not an uncommon one about whether or not lions can get sick from eating rancid or diseased flesh. Well, the very animal they're eating now is called a buffalo, obviously, and all of the buffalo in the Kruger National Park have been exposed to, and in many cases exhibit, what we call bovine tuberculosis. Now we know the lions pick that up from the buffalo, they pick it up from the kudu as well that get it, and various others. So yes, they can pick up diseases. Largely, however, their constitutions are such that they're able to cope with it. So, for example, were you to be, sorry, just hold on 1 second. Aubrey's pulled out, so you're welcome to make your way straight in. You know, there'll be all sorts of parasites and things in rancid flesh, massive amounts of bacteria and stuff that would make you and I probably dead very quickly. Because that's what lions are designed to do. They've got the digestive systems to cope with it, and so they don't get sick. Their bodies cope with the parasites and the bacteria. They either just live with the diseases, as they do with TB, or their bodies will kill off whatever diseases it is that they pick up from carcasses. Anthrax also, apparently they can pick up, but that's probably more through the spores that get into the air. What an unbelievable morning. Keon, you want to know about salmonella and whether, specifically your question is, do lions get salmonella from eating birds and chickens? I've never seen a lion eating a chicken. Have you, Viam?
In zoos.
Definitely in zoos, I'm sure they eat them. Keon, I don't know. I imagine it's possible that they could get salmonella. I actually have no idea. I'm not even going to half answer that question. I'm going to throw it out to the viewers and say, do you know of cats that get salmonella, and if it's possible or not? And it's quite possible that if a domestic cat can get salmonella, then, you know, closely related animal like these lions may well too. I don't think, Keon, though, that wild birds out here, and they will eat wild birds from time to time, like francolins and that sort of thing, they could carry. I don't think that they carry things like salmonella. Now, Viam was showing me trying to take photographs earlier on. My ultimate photograph of lions would be a little youngster playing with a big male. This has failed to materialize. I thought it was going to 2 or 3 times today. Isn't this an amazing sight? You just don't know where to look. There's lion magnificence everywhere. Look at that. Leah, we're just looking at those 2 lions there, and the one of them at the back seems to be maybe slightly injured. Leah, you say, would we step in to help it if the rest of the pride just left it alone? No, Leah, I'm afraid we wouldn't. No, we've got all 3 of them there. We would try and just leave things to be as they were, for a number of reasons. Firstly, we're in an open system, and therefore you know, the policy kind of is let nature take its course. That, as has been pointed out by some viewers, is not necessarily always possible and is not necessarily consistent with our approach, because we do pump artificial water, we build dams, and so, I mean, it's not necessarily the case that nature was always taking its course here. But secondly, with lions, you could rescue it, sure, then you could raise it, and it would very quickly become a physical liability, but also almost impossible to reintroduce to a population of wild lions. It's not impossible, but it is very, very, very difficult, and very few reserves will take them. You couldn't go into Botswana and try and reintroduce it there. The Kruger wouldn't take a lion that had been hand-raised because it would most likely be killed. So we rather just let things be. Here we go, it's up now. And you can hear some green woodhoopers calling in the background. Come on, get up, let's see. Oh dear. Yeah, I know that back leg's not good. I don't like to see that because lions are the most mercenary when it comes to looking after sick and injured individuals. If that little thing is too weak to keep up with the pride, they'll leave it. But because they're still so young, you know, what may well happen is that the mother will leave them all here, or somewhere close by, when she goes off to hunt again. It's not like at this age they have to move too much with the pride. As you can see, that's quite a severe injury to the back left leg. But unfortunately, it's just part of what happens out here, especially with lions. Probably a 1 in 10 chance of a male making it to adulthood. Maybe 3 in 10 for a female. But, as we keep saying, animals are so resilient, and the most obvious example of it we had the other day, of course, was that buffalo sighting that Jamie had. Look at the mother coming, stalking them. And go ahead, Vernon. Look at them playing there. Good, thanks, and you? Isn't that beautiful? 2 here now. I'm more than happy to move out. I've had a great sighting, so make your way straight here. I'm 100% sure. But we will make our way slowly out. Alright everybody, we're going to head out of the sighting. We've had an unbelievable morning with these lions. Vernon from Buffelshoek's going to come in. We don't want to put too much pressure on them, not much space in here, so we're going to pull out and make some space. And we'll watch with interest what happens with that youngster. I think one of us will come back here this afternoon and see what's going on. But what an unbelievable morning we've had. And let's hope that little one manages to survive. Look at that, isn't that cute? This is just too wonderful. Okay everyone, let's head out.
There we go, who done it? Now who dung that? So then we have a nice piece of dung, and you can see it's quite a big piece, it's stuck together, but there are little individual drolletjies. Drolletjies is a very Afrikaans or very South African saying, and about the little bits of dung. So this is quite a tricky one. I don't even think Jean-Andre knows what it is. He thinks he knows what it is. But who done it? If you know who done it, send your answers through to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Who done it? We'll keep the dung for the answers a little later. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like Mr. Tingana has made it this far north just yet. So hopefully he still keeps coming. Or what has happened is he's crossed into Torchwood, which is behind me. So hopefully we're going to keep checking Cheetah Cutline. One of his favorite routes is to come through and down onto Central and into Djuma. So fingers crossed that we find some tracks there. Yeah, let me, sorry, lots of all my warm things. Oh, stuck on the door as well. Okay, there we go. Oh, where's my ears gone? Ah, there we go. So, I'm pretty convinced the Karula hasn't left Djuma, but where exactly she is proving a little bit difficult to find out. I think she's possibly still in those blocks to the east of the Mawati where there's not a lot of roads. So hopefully Herbie is figuring out the puzzle of where she's gone. I haven't heard from him in a while, so it sometimes means he's on really fresh tracks and he turns the radio off so he can listen and not be disturbed. Well done to Judy H. and Aaron and a few others who got the largest, and Valerie, who had the largest mammal migration in Africa. And it is indeed the straw-colored fruit bats that migrate from the Congo Basin forests through to northern Zambia to Kasanka National Park. And they're estimated to be between 4.5 and 5 million bats. They actually black out the sun. Incredible animal migration. Of course, the more well-known migrations in Africa, one of them is the Serengeti Masai Mara, the wildebeest zebra, and Thompson's gazelle migration. As I think, if I remember my numbers correctly, there's about 1.8 million animals in total that are in that migration. And that is not even the largest large ungulate migration in Africa. So when I'm referring to large ungulates, antelopes, zebras, those type of things. And the largest large ungulate or large mammal migration in Africa is actually in southern Sudan. It is white-eared kob migrating from the Sud to the grassy plains of Al Bazar National Park in South Sudan, which is very high up on my bucket list of places to go. Unfortunately, at the moment, South Sudan is not a country one enters without taking lots of precautions, such as bulletproof vests. Wow, we've got some clever whodunits, and that was quick. It is indeed a waterbuck. So I'm just waiting to hear who was spot on there. Fuzzman Sparkles. Interesting handle, Fuzzman Sparkles. Well done, it is indeed waterbuck. It is quite a difficult one, so the only other one that can look quite similar to this is wildebeest sometimes. And what happens is it's probably had a lot of water recently, and that has caused the dung to stick together. So other times, when they haven't had that much water, the dung will break off into these individual little pieces, and or not quite like that, but you get the general idea. Someone said cheetah. If it was any predator dung, I would not be touching it with my hands. So predator dung has lots of bad things in it, flukes and tapeworms and all sorts. So you don't ever want to touch predator or carnivore dung or primate dung with your hands. All of those carry lots of parasites that are easily transmitted to human beings. So when